I started reading in elementary school is a way to just kind of explore new worlds. I was always a big dreamer, very imaginative, and I would always be the kid that played dress up and played fairies and mermaids in the pool. And I loved getting to explore worlds where that could be the case, where I could be a fairy, I could be a mermaid. And as I've gotten older, my kind of motivations for reading have shifted a little bit. In high school, it was largely escapism because I didn't want to have to deal with the struggles of my day-to-day life and some of the emotional turmoil I was going through. I could just kind of escape into a fantasy world. Nowadays, I read more to broaden my horizons and just kind of experience different situations.
I like experiencing something new. I like learning something new. I feel like I get to learn more about different personality types through books, and so even though I'm not a psychology major or anything like that, I think it's really interesting to see the why people do things, and I think it also kind of shows a little bit about the author's personality and why she does things or why he does things. I like getting to fall into those personalities. Oh, I really like that character's value and they don't lie. That is their thing, is they don't want to lie. Now I don't lie. It's just, that's one of the character traits that I probably picked up from a book. I really like the idea of love and the concept of, so whenever I know that book is going to have mates in it, I really like that. There's typically some adventure that goes into that, but I want something that pulls me in, and I always like a little bit of magic. That's something that is fun for me.
A high fantasy book that really explores magic systems and the way they interact with the development of culture and the way people experience life in the world as opposed to just kind of being thrown on top. And that's normally something you can tell from the first 2 or 3 pages of a book I found. Just kind of saying what's different about the way they describe the world here. And if it's something that's unique and has a really fun twist to the way life works, it's normally an instant buy for me. I prefer books that have one point of view throughout because I found that it's a lot more engaging when you can really get into the head of one character as opposed to jumping between a bunch. And it also gives you a lot more room to understand where the character's coming from and kind of root for your one specific character as opposed to getting a little a peek inside everyone's mind but not knowing everyone's full story.
Within the multi-point of view, I find those characters that I just I don't like. I don't want to read from their point of view, and I just want to skip through because they're over here in a different part of the world and it doesn't correlate to this part, and this is action-packed and my favorite characters, and they're going through this big trial and then just leave me off on a cliff and then take me over here and it's nothing's happening. And I'm oh, I don't want to listen to this part. I want to go back to this. And sometimes I just want to skip through it all, but I never do because I feel like I'm going to miss something, but I always want to.
The fantasy genre is more alluring to me than any other genre of literature because anything could happen. In realistic fiction, you're limited by what could realistically happen to a person. In historical fiction, you're limited to what's realistic historically speaking. You're limited to the research the author did and what you know about history. In science fiction, things can get really screwy really fast. But in fantasy, anything goes because you can explain anything by, oh, it's magic. And it's interesting to see how that turns out.
I keep reading, I keep picking up books because I love them. I love to fall into that new world and just escape my now. I love to be busy. I love to do all these things. I love to help other people. I love to be present with them. But sometimes it becomes a lot, and I need a way to decompress, and it's a good way for me to decompress away from it all. And so even though I have 30 bajillion projects to do and I have a lot of work that I have to get done, sometimes I just get so sucked into that book and I can't put it down, and I wind up reading until 3 a.m. even though I have a test the next day. And that it's if I had all the time in the world, I probably just would put my nose in a book and wouldn't do anything else.